Jane, thank you. On Spotlight tonight, the unbearable loss and stigma after losing a child to suicide.
I've seen them cross over the road to avoid talking to me. And is that because they don't know what to say, or they're upset, or whatever it is, but they can't face coming to talk to you?
Darcy took her own life at the age of 17. Her parents say we must keep talking openly about mental health. Also on the programme this evening, raising the warning to red, the extremely high-risk conditions leading to fears that wildfires that have ravaged our moorlands before could easily happen again. As emergency services feel the pressure, we're with the volunteers on the front line helping in this extreme heat.
And in tonight's inbox, some good news as a U-turn could be on the cards. If it goes ahead, it should make life easier when it comes to banking.
Tonight, the pain of losing a child in a way that not only leaves tremendous grief, but is not easy to talk about. 17-year-old Darcy took her own life in 2021, just months before finishing her first year of A-levels. Darcy's parents, Michael and Debbie Hollinson, wanted to share the impact of their loss with us to stop this happening to anyone else. They say they're on a mission to get rid of the stigma surrounding suicide and urge others to keep talking about mental health. Hattie McCann went to speak to them.
I think you have a vision of what your family's going to be like in the future, and that's hopes and dreams and expectations, and you think you can see where that's going. And then all of a sudden, there's just this massive bomb that goes off.
Darcy's parents describe her as confident, feisty and ambitious.
She wanted to be so many different things. She was an archaeologist one day. She was a dentist the next. She was a lawyer the following week. Somewhere along the way, all of that wonder and joy stopped.
And 5 years ago, just months before finishing her first year of A-levels, Darcy died by suicide, leaving behind her parents and her 2 siblings.
Having the realisation that you're going to have to pick up the phone to talk to her sister and her brother to say she's not here. One of the worst things I've ever done.
Darcy's parents say they feel the weight of her death every day.
If you imagine grief as a great big ball, and it's in a jar. To start with, that ball is in a very, very small jar, and it's tightly squeezed in. So your whole world is the jar, and your whole world is grief. And very, very slowly, the jar becomes just that little bit bigger. But your grief is still the same size.
Debbie says the stigma is something she did not expect.
I've had people, when I've walked down the street, I've seen them cross over the road to avoid talking to me. And is that because they don't know what to say, or they're upset, or whatever it is, but they can't face coming to talk to you?
The conversation around suicide's a tricky one, isn't it? One, the word's a pretty horrible word.
It's a brutal word.
It is brutal. And two, it's a conversation maybe where people think that you don't want to talk about suicide, or you don't want to talk about your daughter or your son, or in some cases your father or your mother or your auntie. But people do. We still want to talk. We can't just have a world where Darcy's just been erased.
Debbie's determined to never let her daughter be forgotten.
And I don't go to a function or a social space and with the intention. But if I'm asked and the opportunity, I'm never going to say that I've only got 2 children, because I'm proud of all of them, even the one that's not here.
It's led Michael to being more open as well.
One thing I do play over and over in my mind, and I wish I'd had talks about with Darcy, was my own mental health struggles as a young man, and my sort of the dark tunnel that I was in lasted a little while, but it was temporary. And I'd wish I'd had that conversation with Darcy, because it was a temporary blip. And I think maybe she would have taken something from that.
In Darcy's memory, Debbie and Michael have undertaken fundraising challenges, but none as big as their next one. They're embarking on a 100-kilometre trek across the Sahara Desert in aid of Papyrus, a suicide prevention charity, partly because of a special holiday to Morocco for Darcy's 16th birthday.
And it was such a beautiful experience. It's one of my treasured moments of my life now, because I can't repeat it. We're heading back to Morocco and we're going to trek the Sahara Desert. And it's simply this: mental health is such a tough journey to navigate. Walking the Sahara Desert is a tough trek. The analogies are there.
They are determined to keep going.
It's so painful, it's physical, you can feel it in your body. And in order to help stop that happening to other people, doing these fundraisers and awareness as much as fundraising is important too. That just keeps us going. And if we can stop it happening to just one family, that would be amazing.
Debbie and Michael Hollinson speaking to us about their daughter Darcy. And if you'd like to chat with someone about the issues raised in that report, the BBC Action Line is there to offer support. There are plenty of organisations who can offer you help. Let's now turn our attention to the hot weather, which continues. The wildfire risk is being raised to red this weekend, with Forestry England, the latest organisation to warn people to be very careful. Our environment correspondent, Kate Killingham, is here. There's real growing concern over wildfires.
The hot summer so far has led to extremely high risk conditions, according to Forestry England, and that risk set to increase. So from tomorrow, Cornwall, Devon and Somerset are in the amber alert zone, but that is set to go up to red from Saturday, and that's for the whole region and much of England, in fact.
They can have a huge impact.
They can, and once they start, they can spread incredibly quickly. So in May last year, you might remember, we had that big wildfire on Dartmoor, more than 1,000 acres, had a devastating impact on wildlife. So the advice is from Forestry England, reminding people never to light a fire or have a barbecue in woodland and in forests, and also on Dartmoor, similar, open fires not allowed, and people are being told to leave the barbecue at home and have a picnic instead. OK,
Kirk, thank you very much for that. Well, as the heatwave continues, we're being urged to check in on older neighbours and, if necessary, turn off their central heating. Well, that's what South Western Ambulance Service found during some of their call-outs. During the previous hot weather, it received a record number of calls. Well, John Henderson is live for us this evening in Kingsbridge. John.
I'll explain why I'm in Kingsbridge in a few moments, but when I left Plymouth about an hour ago, 30 degrees. When I came past Ivy Bridge on the A38, it was 30 degrees. When I arrived here, just under 30 degrees. But we got off lightly in a way. Chris, who's doing the camera for me tonight, came down from Exeter and it was 34 degrees. Now, yeah, imagine going into someone's home in midday and people are sitting there with winter woolens on and the radiators blazing away. That's exactly what the ambulance service said it found during the last heat wave, so they're advising people to just keep an eye on their elderly relatives, but here in Kingsbridge they're doing it as well. Age concern. Its Meals on Wheels service isn't just delivering food, it's keeping an eye out, and I tagged along.
Like, 8, 9 o'clock at night, it's still baking.
Which is why this is a priceless piece of kit for Adrian, who has a serious lung disease.
The heat really brings it on more so. Yeah, but it's... I got the fans and stuff, and I leave the doors wide open, pull the curtains in. It all helps to try and keep the heat back. But it's... I'm all right first thing in the morning. I'm all right last thing at night. It's a bit in the middle.
Right, Adrian, nice to see you, and I'll see you next week, OK?
Yeah, OK.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
You take care.
Which is where visits like this
Bye.
can make a huge difference.
Essentially, we're not carers, but we do care.
Sherry is a volunteer Meals on Wheels driver, but she's also on the front line, finding out how people are coping in the extreme heat.
Hi, Morris. How are you doing?
Oh, struggling.
Struggling with the heat?
Some are doing okay.
How was she?
She was okay. She's actually quite cool in there. She's got a fan on. And she's got the curtains shut, so she's quite cool in there.
Others are finding the temperatures uncomfortable.
Keep yourself cool and hydrated, OK?
Right, thank you.
All right.
So just tell me again about that couple.
Just the heat. I think it's just unbearable for them at the moment. Like I said, they have got a fan, and I did put some water on the table for them. But I just think that they are just finding it unbearable.
You are 9 mains and 1 cold pudding.
All told, there are about 10 volunteer drivers coming out of this care hub in Kingsbridge.
And none of our drivers knock and run. That's not our policy. They will go in, they will check, they will ensure that they are not in distress. We'll do things like make sure that they've got windows and doors open so there's through drafts. There are little things that make a huge difference.
And what was the address of the emergency?
And that's the message the ambulance service wants to get out after experiencing its busiest day during the last heatwave, when it received 5,200 calls to its control rooms.
Dehydration in older people was a really common call that we got during the last heatwave. So think about what you normally drink, but you're going to be sweating more during the higher temperatures. So ensure that you take more fluids than normal. And what you're aiming to do is for your urine to be light straw coloured. If it starts to get darker and that's not normal for you, it could be a sign that you're dehydrated, and we need you to act by drinking a bit more before you end up becoming poorly.
So have you got some water now?
Yeah, I've drunk 3 glasses.
So check in on neighbours, especially if they're over 65.
Take care of yourself, Sheila.
For a while now, the Met Office has been advising of these extreme weather events are going to become the new normal. My colleague Tamsin Melville has been looking at the event that happened earlier this year.
Well, we're in the middle of the 3rd heat wave of the year, but over the winter we had 3 named storms, and it's 6 months since Storm Goretti brought down hundreds of trees across Cornwall, caused power cuts in tens of thousands of homes, and 1 man was tragically killed. It might seem a world away on a day like today, but the impact of Storm Goretti is still being felt. St Michael's Mount is a changed landscape.
We came out on Friday morning and everything is sort of devastated. All these trees are down.
Back in January, head gardener Darren was shocked at the extent of the damage caused by 112 miles an hour winds. 6 months on, the clear-up is still ongoing.
So at the final clear-up stage, which we finished now, we got to 127 trees. And just in this area alone, there was 38 trees that have been removed and taken off the island.
It was 80% of the trees that Storm Goretti felled, but the team here are working hard to turn it into an opportunity, from new tree trunk seats to a colourful display.
When you look at the area, it looks lovely now, being open, and you've got a blank canvas to put your mark on it for sort of generations to come. Instead of having patches of soil everywhere, we just went through the wildflower mix, and we got sort of borage, clover, and there's all sorts of poppies and cornflowers and everything coming up in this area just to make it a bit sort of cheerful. And it's probably something now we'll take the seed and we'll spread them a little bit further, ready for the following seasons.
There are still tree stumps that need grinding down, and any replanting is on hold while the ground recovers. And in the meantime, the views are spectacular.
We've just got to think, when the trees were here before, the canopy was quite high. You couldn't see the village here on the island, and you couldn't see the town of Marazion. So now we've got this lovely view looking across the lawns and a bit of the wild meadow down there.
The Isles of Scilly felt the brunt of Goretti first, and for one business on St Mary's, the Mermaid Inn, red tape meant things are still not back to normal.
The roof above us here in the restaurant that you're standing in was pretty much lifted up, a lot of it ripped off, opening it to the elements, opening it to the sea. Fortunately, some work is happening. It's coming on now, but we're here in July, right in the middle of the very busiest part of the season on Scilly. And it's really, really sad that this iconic pub is not open. And we're seriously hoping we can save some of the season.
From businesses still struggling today to people left without power, water or even their homes in the days after the storm, MPs for the affected areas have claimed the impact of Goretti has not been taken seriously enough by the government. But ministers have said Cornwall is not being ignored. Back on the Mount, visitors now learn about the storm.
But it's changed the landscape of the Mount forever. We're trying to be really positive about it. It's nature.
It's part of the area's history that it's hoped won't be repeated. Tamsin Melville, BBC Spotlight.
Well, our viewers here and in the Channel Islands who are just joining us, welcome to the programme. Lots more stories online this evening, of course. There have been delays at Land's End Airport today following this plane crash. The two on board weren't seriously injured. An investigation has started. Public consultation days over plans for one of the largest data centres in Europe have been postponed. It's to allow more time to talk with local residents. And out of 400 hopefuls, it's made the final 15. Ilfracombe is on the shortlist for the first UK Town of Culture. It'll receive 60k to work on its final bid. The winner is announced next year. Read all about it there and the other towns. Their winning postcard, by the way, is available to see now on the BBC News app. In other news, an inquest into the death of a man from Minehead who unlawfully killed his partner and then went on the run has returned an open conclusion. 70-year-old Richard Scatchard's mummified body was found in a caravan 6 months after his partner, Kelly Fayers, died. He'd coerced her into taking too many sleeping pills when she'd been drinking. The coroner said there was no conclusive evidence as to how or when Scatchard died. Now, police have taken action after reports of antisocial behaviour at a beach in Cornwall. Neighbourhood officers in Polzeth are urging parents to make sure their children don't cause a nuisance and negatively impact other residents after large gatherings at the resort. The dispersal ploughs are in place until tomorrow morning, and anyone who doesn't comply may be arrested or returned home. Scott Bingham reports.
The locals call it Mad Fortnight, when hundreds of teenagers descend on the seaside village of Polzeth, signalling the start of the summer holidays. But in recent years, it's seen a rise in antisocial behaviour as they gather on the beach until the early hours.
Youngsters, anywhere from sort of 12 to 17 typically, they come here up to about 1,000 of them per night.
But business owner Craig Black says a small minority are causing the problems.
We've had to replace some of our poles because they climb up on them, they snap them. When there's 1,000 of them here, to see over each other, they come and stand in my flower pots. These flowers were beautiful, but now they're all destroyed. We got a staff member spat on the other night.
This year, police have invoked extra powers with a 48-hour dispersal order, which can see teenagers returned home or arrested if they don't leave the area when told.
We've had to have this particularly in order to take robust action due to that behaviour escalating beyond what is normally expected of nice, normal celebratory behaviour, which is the large amount and proportion of that. But there has been a real minor few which has been ruining that for their peers and acting in a way which is well below what is expected.
Many of the businesses here are nervous about negative publicity. This 2 weeks pumps hundreds of thousands of pounds into the local economy here. The owner of this bar and restaurant didn't want to appear on camera, but he did tell us they have to employ extra security and they have confiscated dozens of fake IDs.
When I was head chef at the Rum Bar Surfside last year, we actually employed security, because what they were doing was taking the tables from outside and spurning them. We had like 16 brand new tables last year, came to work in the morning, they'd all gone.
But there is also an upside.
I was here last summer and it was so busy, and now it's got 4 times busier. And like everyone I've talked to has been so polite, so lovely. Like we're just on a beach, like everyone's happy. Like, I mean, it's been amazing. I've sold just so much stuff.
The dispersal order remains in force until early tomorrow morning, but police say it can be extended if necessary. Scott Bingham, BBC Spotlight, Polzeth.
It is Thursday, which means a delve into our inbox. Tonight we revisit an old issue. Here's Natalie.
Thanks. Hello. A few weeks ago, we covered the story about a woman who lived in Crackington Haven not being able to deposit her cheque for Lloyds at the post office anymore. The bank had decided to stop that service, and Annabelle had to drive to Truro and back to the closest Lloyds branch. That's nearly a 100-mile round trip. Well, we've got some good news. Lloyds have decided to reintroduce the service. Cameron Weldon's been talking to Annabelle.
The banking theory is that everything can be done on an app, and that's just not always the case. Their ethos was to make banking easy, and I think this is a reversal of that.
Well, those were the words of Annabelle in May. She urged Lloyds to reconsider their policy, and her voice has well and truly been heard, as the bank is now in talks with the post office to reintroduce the service it cancelled in January, despite it saying only a small percentage of users still use cheques.
I feel very optimistic, and I think it's a result for the allegedly insignificant 0.06% of their client base who appeared to be just an insignificant statistic.
Her local postmistress, Joanna, says she's delighted for her customers who still use cheques regularly.
It's a farming community, and a lot of the farmers don't have time to drive, an hour to the bank, and that is their lifeline.
Lloyds told us although cheque usage was in decline and most of its customers deposited on the app, in branch or via its free post delivery service, it recognised that some customers want greater choice, so are now in talks with the post office to re-establish the service until 2030.
Thanks, Cam. 121 MPs from across the country wrote to Lloyds to protest. One of them was Ben Maguire, the MP for North Cornwall.
This was a real sticking point for many constituents and businesses who weren't able to check those Lloyds or cash those Lloyds cheques at banking hubs, at post offices. So it's fantastic news that Lloyds have relented after lots of pressure, and they've decided to agree to accept those cheques in post offices and banking hubs.
There we are. Nice to have some good news to report. Spotlight at bbc.co.uk is our email address if you want to get in touch. Thank you very much.
Bit of sports news, and Lucy Schuker has played her final match at Wimbledon before retiring after losing in the semi-finals of the wheelchair doubles. Lucy and her South African partner lost in straight sets to the #1 seeds. Over 16 years at the championships, the 46-year-old, who spent most of her career in Taunton, reached the 5 finals but never quite managed to lift the trophy. Now, they were once almost extinct in North Devon, but now water voles are being reintroduced at Woolacombe. Look at them. Their habitats declined sharply because of habitat loss, water pollution and the arrival of the American mink. It's part of a major restoration project by the National Trust.
They can have up to 8 broods of young throughout the breeding season, 4 or 5 at a time. And so if you think that number will just increase so quickly at those rates. So they can they've kind of got a boom or bust strategy with living.
And of course, we're no strangers to some amazing wildlife around the southwest. You've been spotting jellyfish, sunfish and hundreds of dolphins all around our coasts. This beautiful footage of Rizzo's dolphins was captured in Swanpool near Falmouth earlier this week. Meanwhile, in Devon, Peter was also out kayaking in Budley Bay when this was recorded this morning. Thanks so much to all of you who sent your videos. Do keep them coming in because we absolutely love them. What a beautiful part of the world we live in, David. And in the sunshine, it looks glorious.
It doesn't look like we're in the UK, does it?
No.
I mean, those pictures are amazing, fantastic. Unfortunately, it's still very hot, though, and that's going to be a problem for a few more days yet. We are, yes, day 5 of our heatwave, 5 consecutive days with temperatures above 25 degrees. And the countryside is starting to look a bit brown, a bit yellow, because we do need some rain. And there's not much in the forecast right now. A hint of something changing as we go into next week. But for tomorrow, for Saturday and Sunday, there is very little change in our weather pattern. Our peak temperatures likely to be tomorrow and Saturday, and then they start to come down a little bit. But it's not a huge difference. It's just a few degrees cooler each day, and by the time we get to Monday, there is a chance of a few showers. It's going to be another hot day. There's high pollen, high UV as well. There isn't much to change that overnight tonight and into tomorrow. There's a hint perhaps of a bit more cloud bubbling up in a few places tomorrow. I'll talk about that in just a second. But also low pressure over Spain and Portugal will start to move. Now, at the moment, it's very slow moving, but by the time we get to Saturday, it's beginning to bring a few showers into central and southern parts of France. And by the time we get to Sunday, it's squeezed the isobars up, pushed the high pressure up to the top of Scotland, and with a stiffening easterly breeze, it may just bring the temperatures down a couple of degrees, with eventually some showers associated with this moving up from the south on Monday. So this is Monday's forecast. Those blue circles there are potential showers, very hit and miss whether we'll see them at all. Quite a breezy day on Monday, but also the chance of more cloud and the potential for a few showers. But that's a long way off. It's fine, it's clear, it's a bit misty in places overnight tonight, a few strands of cloud coming our way, but by the morning we're going to wake up to really quite a warm start to the day. Our overnight temperatures are going to be several degrees higher than they were last night, 17 to 19 degrees, so uncomfortably warm for sleeping. Fine tomorrow, almost unbroken sunshine. There is a bit more cloud developing in the far north. You can just see right at the top there, close to the Quantocks and also Exmoor, there's just a chance of enough cloud to bubble up into a shower, but that's really very isolated. For the rest of us, it's a hot day, 27 to 33 degrees, the top temperature. These are the times of high water: Plymouth 14:21 and Minehead 15:06. For the Isles of Scilly here, I think we'll have slightly more of a breeze tomorrow, fine and dry, a more comfortable temperature for the islands at 21 or 22. And the winds are going to be from the east or northeast tomorrow, force 3 to 4, but increasing 5 overnight and into the start of the weekend. And that's the outlook. Yes, it does change, a slow change in terms of a decrease in the temperatures, but certainly by the time we get into next week, there's a better chance of seeing more cloud and potentially a few showers dotted around, especially from Wednesday. But until then, it stays very warm, if not hot. Have a good evening. Victoria.
David, thank you very much. I'm going to pop home and water the plants in the garden now, looking very dry. Thanks for joining us this evening. We hope you can join us again tomorrow on Friday. Goodbye.